I am back. Okay, I'll prepare my timer. And good evening, everyone. My name is Angeline. My primary gender pronouns are she, her. And for my TY preference, I prefer if you just open your microphone and say TY, since I won't be reading the chat at all anyways. So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels. The Industrial Revolution caused so many factories to be opened in status quo. These factories, along with tech revolution and advancement, produced so much greenhouse gases that now our Earth is burning, both metaphorically and literally. Look, the weather these days are unreasonably, and I'm currently dripping in sweat for the third time this day. And if we don't solve these issues, our Earth is doomed and our economy is destined for doom, for an apocalypse. Our social issues will just worsen by time. Now, moving on, before I actually move on to my rebuttals, I would like to point out a few problems with opening government and clarify a few things from opposition. Now, the problem with opening government is that they forgot that this is an actor motion. We act as a government literally, and our main goal here is to improve our country in general. They did not touch on urgency and justification, so we will do it today in my speech in closing government. And also, their mechanism about giving out loans and etc. is problematic already. They want to implement a loan and then call it a day. Look, loaning things and money wouldn't do anything in the end of the day. What will be more effective is to implement our mechanism, which I will explain later in my setup. Now, to clarify opposition doesn't actually make it clear on what they actually want and what they're actually fighting for in the end of the day. And they also explain how environmental issues will still be solved under their side of that and how will they do it. Now, moving on to my rebuttals before moving on to my setup, is that they talk to you about that the people in developed countries aren't that educated in the first place. So how will research happen under our side of the house when knowledge is limited, and especially in developed countries? Now, there are actually stereotyping here, there's strawman in here, and that is fatal, okay? No, of course, in developing countries, there will still be educated people. For example, in Indonesia, there's still so many educated people, like our ministers, our presidents, researchers who work in research facilities, docentes and universities, even your teachers back in high school or in essay, or even you right now, panel adjudicator, because developing countries will also focus on improving human resources. And of course, they will not be playing with it because, of course, they need better human resources to develop the country anyways, right? But even if this happened under our side of the house, it's still okay because you can just invite someone from outside the country with more knowledge, or invite some people from outside the country or team with more knowledge, and you can just obtain more information for them, ask them to help you work on some projects because you have basically a lot of funds anyway under our side of the house. Or basically, if you can't do that, you can basically go trial and error, learn along the way. There's a huge amount of allocated funds from the countries anyways, and even the allocated funds can be used for improving human resources in order to improve our research in environmental issues and solving it, etc. So moving on to my setup. So how is it in SRS School? How is the situation right now, and why is our motion justified, and why is it urgent to solve this issue? So to characterize environmental issues right now in status quo is that there are forest fires, floods, rise in sea levels, shift of seasons, rise in temperatures, melting ice caps, etc. All just because of climate change, which is so crazy, right? Now this causes so much damage in status quo. Why? Because it diminishes forests, which could probably be used to build houses, make paper, and etc. Makes the crops fails, which actually fail. That means there's going to be less food resources for the people. It destroys sea ecosystems, making resource collection so much harder because of the reducing amount of resource availability in status quo. Now, why is our motion justified? Because by solving environmental issues, you are pretty much fighting to give the people better quality of life on Earth itself, where the environment itself is stable, and the amount of problems caused by climate changes and environmental issues will be reduced significantly. Now, moving on to our second point of setup, how will this work? So we will allocate budget for green infrastructures and facilities. We will campaign for green technology and green industries. We will also campaign and allocate budget for alternative energy and research. And we also enforce laws that will protect our environment, such as carbon taxes, selective deforestation, etc. Now, what is our burden proof here, which is the main third setup today? We are here to prove to you that focusing on environmental issues and research, allocating money for it, is more important than dealing with social issues and economic crisis. And under our side of the house, even social issues and economic crisis and social will still be solved under our side of the house. Now, moving on to my arguments, I have no extensions from opening government whatsoever because I don't really understand what they're actually talking about anyways. So, okay, what? I have one point of argument here today. So if the environment is damaged due to climate change and the country relies on resources from its environment on the climate itself to keep the economy running, and you don't focus on improving the environment, how will your economy keep running? Now, especially in countries categorized as agriculture, for example, Indonesia, or countries that also rely heavily on resources. So many crops are destroyed, so many trees are reduced to ash and smoke in fires. Reduction of resources in status quo, as explained in my setup. So, if the environment is destroyed due to climate changes, the country itself produce products with limited resources, there's also going to be possible inflation because of the limitation of products itself due to destruction of it, of course, by climate changes. And there's also bad quality of resources, probably bad quality of crops, and etc., which is crucial for the well-being of people because you have to feed them anyways, right? You have to provide things for them anyways, right? It's also crucial to improve economy, especially if they rely on export as the main source of income. Because if you want to export something, the product has to be good, right? The product has to be high quality, and if you don't have the good resources for that, how are you going to export things at the same price? How are you going to use that as a source of income? And then, okay, so what opposition cares about here is that about economic crisis and social issues that might not be solved under our side of the house. That's what they claim, right? But okay, economic crisis is already dealt under our side of the house, especially in each country, because they heavily rely on the resources and other countries' resources. So each country relates to each other. If there are no country that makes the first move and starts dealing with environmental issues as the first, like what the first opposition the first speaker of the opening opposition has stated that we can just wait for other countries to develop countries to come up with an issue with a solution. No, what if they do not come up with a solution? What if they don't start moving and start dealing with environmental issues? How are you going to retain your resources and retain the economy from exporting your own resources and from the sales of products that are made with our resources? And for social issues, if the country focuses on environmental issues and research, make their society woke to environment issues, make that the bipartisan issue, populist idea, social issues will now revolve around environment. But since countries are also reallocating funds for environmental protection into issue resolvement, social itself will be solved in the first place. Now, opposition can come into this debate, or maybe has already come into this debate, saying focusing on environment, you talk about equally important issues or equally important aspects such as education and healthcare. No, we don't forget about that. We will also try to balance out allocation of leftover funds that aren't put into environmental issues, research, and resolution. Even if there are aspects that may be ignored as well for a while, for example, education, healthcare, etc., it's still fine under our side of the house, as what I've explained before. Since our economy increases under our side of the house, so with better economy, that means you have more money, right? If you have more money, you have more funds to allocate to more aspects of the country, for example, for education, healthcare, security, well-being, infrastructure, difficulties, etc. And that's why this house is so proud to propose. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the fine speech. To open the case of the opposition, also opposition staff, also call up the member of opposition. Here.
I hope that I am audible. First of all, my gender preferred pronouns are they, them. For POI, please just use the chat box or just use emoticons. Do not open your mic. We'll take POI after 3 minutes. I will not take POI before 5 minutes. Let me start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges, you need to understand that we don't see, in the status quo, we don't see that any budget environmental issues would actually do any change towards climate change. Why? First, long-term effects is already happening, right? Even if you want to try to solve this problem, you can. Why? Because the developed countries are the one who are causing this problem. Industry are the one who are industry are the things that people are very dependable about. So when you're trying to remove these industries and try to solve the climate change, it will not success anyways, right? Couples of rebuttals, right? First, going to the OG first, right? We question about their mechanism. What do they want to do with the budget that they allocate? What kind of research do they want to do? They do not really explain this, right? And second, about the economical issues, right? They say the infrastructure and the environment that we want in the OOT, they say infrastructure and that the infrastructure that they build in the environment will cause any cause much more harm, right? Which I don't think that no, we don't think infrastructure in the environment will actually cause any harm, because at the end of the day, it will actually bring benefit into the economical of these people, the economical of this the economical of this the tiny or anything like that, right? And second, they say they do not really explain how they can contribute to the allocated funds, and they say that when you can you can contribute to allocate fund, but like we see that like this allocate funds is a really really urgent thing. So like that you need to like solve the urgent things first, like right. So like when you don't have the money, how are you going to be like able to like allocate these funds when like there's another urgent things to do, right? Going to the O. We also question on their mechanism, like they're just like debating about like how like they how like developed countries like economical things will like not do anything and etc. But like they do not really like provide us any mechanisms, right? And going to the going to the CG, right? First they say that like research happens and educate and there's like already educated people if you want to do research, right? But we will say that like they will we will say that like these things like if this thing is happening, like developed country will most likely to try to like deal on this like on their own, like even like if those researches like happening and those researches like are success, and they will like try to probably keep it on their own, right? Second, they say that like there's like allocating budget for like alternative energy, carbon taxes, deforestation, etc., which is like I think that like this already happens like under like this already happens in the government, and government are already trying to like allocate are trying to like solve this progress, right? And like we they said like there is like equally important issues in education that they will like balance their interests. Like we question how they will balance this, since like when you don't have the money, how will you like allocate and how will you like balance? Because like urgent things come first, right? Going into my arguments, first, we think that like we as a house like we want the global program to actually solve this problem. We as the government has already too much thing on our plate, right? So like we want the global problems like you know like the global problems like environmental programs to actually like, solve this issues, right? Because like they already exist. This is like why they exist, right? Two mechanisms, right? First, we think that like rather than allocating money for research and environmental issues, we are going to like more focus like on we as developed countries, right? We want to focus on economical issues. Why? Economical issues first. Why? At the end of the day, like the budget that we are allocating are more like important for like our basic needs, like as a developing countries. Right? Second, we think that like the programs is very very responsible of this, right? Because like things like environment programs, defense fund, global footprint network, and etc. Like they're already there like, to exist and like to solve this problem. Like how will they like get the money, right? Of course, like from fundraising and etc. From these programs, we as the country, we can like actually solve our economical programs first, and then like there will not any budget like allocating right for any environmental issues, and we can actually focus on solving our programs. This is why the program exists, right? So like we are going to shift the focus into like these programs and let these programs actually like solve these global programs to actually solve these issues, right? Three things explains, right? Why we as developing countries don't want to allocate these funds, right? First, we think like as developed countries, we are like we think that like the biggest interest of us is like achieve the biggest economical things, right? So like we want to like to be the richest countries in the world. Like that is like the realistic interest as a developed countries, right? And second, like it is useless for us to like allocate the budgets anyways, because like we as developed countries, because as a developed countries, they're like the one who are causing this climate change, right? So like when they try to like allocate these funds anyways, like there is still like industries anyways, there is still things that like will like damaging the environment anyways. Like the cause of problem is developed countries, right? Second, even us like as a developing countries, why wouldn't we allocate this fund? First, we think like there is much more urgent things like urgency of food shortage than like caring about the environment. But we also think that like our government is already like investing into these programs, right? Environmental programs such as like conserving and protecting your green area and forest, like it already happens in the studies, right? Even if it doesn't happen in the developed country, the moment they got into like urgent climate change, they will invest to these things anyways. They will invest into these things anyway. So like we as a developed countries, we don't see why we need to like allocate these funds. We as a developed country or developing country don't see like we need to like allocate these funds anyways. And third, we see that like when we solve our economical things to be better, it means like we can at least solve like the environmental issues like on our side. So like we have like much more bigger thing and much more urgent things to solve in our plate, and we think that like economical things as a developed country will come like later, because like first we see the urgent things in our perspective, right? And at that moment when you like solve your economical issues, when your economical issues are already like better, you as a developing country can at least like solve the environmental issues. And even if you can't, like your and even like the environmental issues is like worse, like at least your government will try to invest into this thing. So we already proved to you first why us as like developing country or like even developed country do not want to allocate this money, and third, why this program is already useless in the first place. Very, very proud to oppose.
Thank you so much for the fine speech. To close and to wrap up the government cases, we call upon the whip of government. So here.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, for your preference, you can do in a chat book. I would like to explain POI after I speak in 5 minutes. Okay, I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, since that from the first speaker from opening opposition until closing opposition, they believe that if we allocate much budget for environmental issues and also research issues, it not help the developing country to solve their own problem. That's totally wrong. Because of what? For example, in the fact that in the past that we can compare in the past the program that we want to broke here. For example, in the past that in the crisis in 1998, Indonesia and also China and also South Korea, they are at the same positions. They are poor country. They are still in a developed country, but right now China is a developed country. South Korea is developed country because of what? Because they allocate their budget to increase the quality of SDM. That's why it's a long term effect to for country to being rise than before. What's the correlation with this motion? If the developed country still force themselves to only solve the realistic problem, such as for example, if the society is hungry, you will give much food or something like that. It's not totally solve the main issue. The main issue is if the environment is broken. How could for example, Indonesian farmer do a farm in their village? Because of what? Because we can see that the effect of the climate change is very real. For example, increase of the temperature, it will increase also the dry, it will make a dry season is being more long than before. What is the impact if the dry season is long than before? The farmer cannot always rise the risk or rise the plant or something like that create the food. So it also impact for the other countries such as India. So India didn't want to give export the rice to fulfill Indonesian needed. So it's a real impact for the long term. That's why you want to allocate this budget more into to solve the environmental issue. Second is about the research. If we don't think that the research is very important in here, it's totally wrong. Because of what? Because our human is very important, because they can increase the economic and also the environmental issues. They can do a research. They can make a better innovation to solve environmental problems, such as like the developed country did before. So why is very urgent to force this motion to against the status quo? Because we believe that there's no effective and also alternative way for the even for the developing country and also for developed country to save our earth and also to increase our economic, because of what? Because it's being led, because our climate change is always change day by day, and is impact for our environment, is impact for our society. Now going to the my argument is ups. Uh, was that we why we should CG win this year? Because we are the only team who has a characteristic more about the environmental issues and also the research issues. Because it's with that it will lead another problem if we not fix it early as soon as possible. Even for example, the opening opposition or closing opposition said claim that the status quo is enough, that for example environmental program and also environmental protecting is already fulfilled in the status quo. But now we didn't see the progressive the progressive process that can shape it's better than we broke in here. Because of what? Because if the developing countries still think that I just wasting my money, and better than I just give it to the society, that's totally wrong. Because that's the current issue, that's not solve to solve the current situation. And also about I would like to the rebuttal for the opposition side, that they said that realistic problem. We can see that the real realistic problem, our society get hungry because there's no, because they are lack of the food. Why the lack of the food happen? Because the environmental issues, our climate is becoming dry in every day, so with the lack of the food and also still hungry, even we have a money to pay, was that to even we have a money, or even we have a loan that are coming from the other country. But if there is no plan in the earth or no plan in our country, how can we fulfill our society? That's why we have to do a progressive alternative purpose to solve this problem. And second, about if we push this if we push this mechanism, it will make the developing country will think that if I broke my environmental, such as for example, I don't get early to solve the forest fire problem, I will get a punishment. I will pay more to with that. I will pay more to with that to solve this kind of the problem. It will impact to our economic also. And then we think that developing country are always thinking about infrastructure, but infrastructure is not really important than environmental issues. Because of what? Because even you has, for example, the luxurious building or something like that, but the flood or the tsunami happen, it just only broke it in a second. But better than if you keep the environment well, you will see that in the next generation to the next generation, our country still safe. So I close my case. Thank you.
Nice. Then to close the whole debate, we'll call upon the opposition. Wait.
Okay, for POA, just use the chat box. No need to turn on your mic. It might mess up my speech. And I go by sheep for pronouns. Yeah, can the host turn on the timer for me? because I didn't set up my own timer here. Can you please show the timer? Because I need it. Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, audible, but I think yang tadi nge-share screen is not able to do the share screen right now. So if you want, I can help you timekeeping, tapi lewat chat box saja if you are okay with that.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I will start in 3, 2, 1. Panels, OG, CG, and OO, they just keep blabbering on without a clue about how things really work in developing countries. It's like they've got blinders on, only seeing the rich, unstable nation that are already winning. But guess what? I'm here to lay down the real deal on the best mechanism for every country out there. Let's talk efficiency, people. We're talking about making better use of energy and resources, right? And it's not a rocket science. What we actually want is to get countries to team up and solve these environmental headaches together, to share the knowledge, pass around the cool tech, and cook up some global policies and standards, right? CG also said that our sources come from nature. Yes, we really understand that and we are good at producing, but do you understand that we are discussing the budget that will be given for problems like this, even during economic and social crisis? Even you have to pay attention, even here, even during the economical crisis and social crisis. Do you think this is very effective? This is really can be justified, right? Instead of giving as much as an allowance, it's better for us to be together globally, right? This is more realistic than each country, considering how corrupt and how much money is used when someone is using it for a wrong way, right? And do projects, and also consider project that makes more sense. We're talking about budgets here, right? So why doesn't anyone just talk about projects and that will be launched instead of wasting money that could be misused? Ladies and gentlemen, however, it's really imperative to acknowledge that intricate dilemmas faced by developing nations, particularly in regions such as Africa and Asia. While we do not discount the significance of environmental preservation, right, our arguments will emphasize the immediate and weighty challenges and priorities that that these developing countries, right. We also have this super crucial question to each side of the house. The question is whether pouring funds into these issues will generally bring about the desired impact, and if these resources are depleted, what happens when the problems remain unresolved? Do the government even provide a solution in their funds if their funds run out here? Also, no, right, and the burden is not resolved. It is essential to address the question of sustainability and find viable solution in case the financial burden not really work. International alliance, they didn't even can describe and outline the process through which economically challenged nation will manage and allocate their budget, considering the dire economic circumstance. Ladies and gentlemen, so the whole government crew is out here talking about how countries hit hard by climate change, like those in Africa and Asia, should just be throwing a ton of cash at environmental stuff, even when their economics are in the gutter. They're like, oh, climate change is messing up big time, and they gotta fix it, or it's gonna be a massive headache. They're also saying that the money is already there, it's just not going where it should be. But hold on, we gotta remember the poverty situation in this African and other poor countries, right? They already struggling to put food on the table and deal with disease and all that. So expecting them to drop big bucks on saving the environment when they're needed in an economic and social mess is a bit out of touch, right? This nation should be focusing on getting their financial act together and making life better for their people. Once they've weathered the storm, then maybe they can start thinking about being eco-friendly, right? However, This is so unrealistic for many African countries and other poor countries, right? Ladies and gentlemen, these countries are already struggling to meet their basic needs of their citizens. They are facing high rates of poverty, of hunger, and disease. In this context, it is simply not possible for them, these countries, to spare significant resources for environmental protection. Instead, the countries should focus on economic recovery, right, and social development. Remembering the motion that even in a big crisis, they should pay attention to this climate change stuff. It is so unrealistic, ladies and gentlemen. Once the crisis has passed, they can then start to make investment in environmental protection, right? By focusing on economic recovery and social development, maybe these countries can create a more resilient society that is better and able to stand with the impacts of the climate change, right? They can also invest in renewable energy, maybe, and other sustainable technologies that will help them reduce this greenhouse gas emission, rather than giving that much of budget to solve this problem when they are in crisis. It is so unrealistic. Ladies and gentlemen, so our solution that we will bring to the table is, you want to know the ultimate solution for all those global environmental headaches? Well, it's pretty simple actually. We just need everyone on this planet to start playing nice and team up. Take such as the Paris Agreement. We can see that the big global club where the countries got together to fight the climate change. The Paris Agreement born to solve the climate change. Why don't we just team up and solve this problem, rather than giving that much allowance to solve this problem, and even in the crisis. Here's the deal: we want every country gets to make its own climate goals and plans to cut down on those peaky greenhouse gases. They know we're not all starting from the same point, but they're saying, hey, we're all in this problem together, so let's on up to it. You can see that the Paris Agreement is like a giant project for the whole world. It's all about working as a team, being open about what you're doing, and sharing your cool tech and know-how. This is Global Geeks shows that when countries unite, they can tackle major environmental issues that don't care about borders. So yeah, global teamwork is where it's at for saving the planet. Focus on economic recovery and social developments during economic social crisis is much more important than giving allowance to solve the climate change, right? Countries should focus on meeting the basic needs of their citizens, such as food, water, shelter, and investing a significant amount of budget to environmental issues and research during this time could divert resources away from this essential need, right? Please be realistic about what countries can afford. Many countries, especially those in Africa and Asia, are already struggling to meet their basic needs. Then why you need to force the much of budgets to solve this things change while they are in crisis? It is so unrealistic to expect them to allocate a significant amount of budget to environmental issues, right? So supportive alternative that we can give is there are a number of ways to address environmental problems without spending a lot of money. What we want to bring is such as countries can promote such as sustainable agriculture, or maybe just reduce the deforestation and educate the public about environmental issues, right? And come up to my argument. Climate change is a real serious problem, but it is not the only problem that we face. We also face economic and social crisis, right? And we cannot afford to ignore this crisis in order just to focus on climate change, right? We can address climate change without sacrificing our economic and social well-being, but we cannot do that if we pass this motion. I'm not saying that the climate change is not a serious problem. It is a big problem. I'm not saying that we shouldn't invest in environmental protection. We should. But I'm saying that this motion is so unrealistic and unwise. During the economic and social crisis, countries have to make difficult choices, right? They have to decide where to allocate their limited resources, and also when people are struggling to meet their basic needs, it is simply not possible for them to spare resources for environmental protection, right? In fact, investing in environmental protection during an economic crisis is so unrealistic and can actually make the crisis worse. This is because environmental regulation can add cost to business, which can lead to job losses and higher price for consumers. Instead of focusing on environmental protection during during an economic crisis, countries should focus on economic recovery first. Then, what we want here is that once the economic is on solid footing, then countries can start to invest in the environmental protection. This is the most realistic solution that we can hear in these debates today. Allocating significant amounts of budget to environmental issues and researching during an economic and social crisis can also have a number and realistic negative social consequences, such as when governments spend more money on environmental protection, they have less money to spend on other important priorities, right, such as education, health, and infrastructure. This can lead to reduced access to basic service for the poorest and most vulnerable members of the society, right? Panels, the economic cost of environmental regulation can lead to increase the poverty and social inequality. This is because those who are most reliant on quality industries are often the hardest hit by job losses and higher prices, right? Do you even consider that? Ladies and gentlemen, when people are struggling to meet their basic needs and see their quality of life decline, they are more likely to become dissatisfied with the government and engage in social unrest. For example, we can see the study that where people
I'm
in
sorry,
developing
the
countries
time is
believe
up, by the way.
that climate change is a risk threat to their country. Governments have limited resources. During an economic and social crisis, governments have to
I'm
make
so sorry,
difficult
but the time
choices
is up.
about how to allocate. They have to decide where to cut spending and where to raise taxes.
Hello CEO Etika. Yeah, makasih banyak Atika. But I
Sorry
think,
to oppose.
yeah, thank you so much. You're spending 10 minutes in your speech. Unfortunately, I have been stopping writing since 7 minutes and 20 seconds. So yeah, just be mindful for the next debate ya, biar enak ke semua orang. Alright. I'll be taking 10 to 15 minutes to create my oral adjudication and I'll be back. Thank you so much for the debate.
Okay. Okay, I think you are a great debaters since I ever spar before.
test. I hope that I am audible. Thank you so much for Kaito to like invite me and Amel into today's debate. Well, like unfortunately, Amel cannot make it, but unfortunately, I have to leave because I have like couple of homeworks waiting for me. Can I please like have a favor and just like write down my speaker score and send it to Amel, if that's okay?
Okay, I will send it to Amel.
Okay. Can you also please write like just a couple of like general feedbacks, just like a couple, a little.
Okay, okay.
Is that okay? Thank you so much. Like it was a very great debate, guys. Hope to see you guys again in like later spar.
Okay, bye bye. See you next
Bye.
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Test, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you so much. Ini pakai speaker score atau enggak ya, BTW?
Soalnya tadi yang request itu. Kita juga rasakan ini.
Ya. I'll be typing the speaker scores aja dulu sebelum mulai my oral education, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm just gonna start my oral education then. Since you have been saying the speaker score, I think you can also guess the result of this of the debate. I'll be starting my oral education I'll be starting my oral education in 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, since it can be seen in the speaker score, the rank are as follows. First goes to opening government, second goes to closing government, third goes to opening opposition, and fourth goes to closing opposition. OG, CG, OO, and CO. My comparison will be done chronologically, first from OG and OO, then I'll be comparing next to CG, and lastly to CO. Okay then, first comparison between the opening team, between opening government and opening opposition. Why opening government was higher than opening opposition? I see four tipping points basically. First of all, there is a debate about the context, about is this talking about when the crises are really happening, or in all cases, whether it talks about before the crisis, after, or during the crisis. I think in this state, both team like OG that says that, this kind of crisis, economical and social crisis, are something that's rarely happens versus and only exists in the extreme cases. But in opening opposition says that, we're talking basically in the most vulnerable situation, which when this economical and social crisis are really happening. Both are valid, but I see that opening opposition are too incharitable in engaging to their opponents' cases when, for example, opening government in this case have also tried to engage when this kind of crisis are really happening, why it is still okay for us, for example, to do this kind of policy. In order for me to buy more argument from opening opposition, I need more engagement from opening opposition, for example, the case that have been built sufficiently by opening government. That, for example, when there is no any crisis and everything is just okay, why it is still bad for us to, for example, significantly allocate our budget for these particular things at the end of the day? By saying that how at the end of the day there is no more engagement and response towards the case, and how every argument of opening opposition derive from this kind of assumption that is happening in social crisis mostly, for example, makes the argumentation of the opening opposition are less appealing compared to opening government. But the second tipping point, talking about the impact, I think the biggest concern of opening opposition are talking that it is taking too long when we have been allocating so much money. I think opening government never say have also been engaging to this. I mean that yes, it is long term and that is okay, because at the end of the day there is no such policy that will exist like boom everything like exists and success at the end of the day. They say that it is okay for us to allocate it for a really long time, because at the end of the day it is okay to allocate right now rather than being doing it, for example, too late in the future at the end of the day. Comparatively, in opening opposition, where they say that it is bad, so let's focus on solving the economic and social crisis first at the end of the day. I think the same fiat exists. If opening opposition do not want to give the fiat that the long term is good, then opening opposition also have are under the same umbrella of fiat that solving the climate crisis are also something that will take something longer, and it is also might be not good. So they also have to explain how, why, for example, it is okay to allocate so much money to this solving this economic crisis when, for example, the environment are also getting worse as time passes by, for example. So at best, the impact are basically in a wash, for example, or deadlock, but it becomes something clear in DPM when they say that at the end of the day, this long-term way, it is also needed and okay, because at the end of the day, opening government, especially in DPM, explain that they can incorporate the benefit on opening opposition, because if opening opposition want to champion the idea of making people prosper first and getting welfare first, then it can also be achieved under opening government, because when crops are dying, then people cannot sell their, for example, their harvest, for example, and at the end of the day they do not also get money or something along those lines. So at the end of the day, the benefit of opening opposition can also be exist under opening government, shows that at the end of the day there is a shaky statement in opening opposition as to why, for example, their justification in this long-term impact is bad. And second of all, opening government have also managed to mitigate the argument of opening opposition by incorporating their benefit. But last comparison, talking about how at the end of the day, opening opposition is not really engaging to OG's identity about the urgency. That it is so harmful that everyone are aware about it. Like, because when, okay, opening opposition try to argue that there might be some retaliation coming from people, but see, at the end of the day, these identity are not well established as to why people will hate this even more when there is, for example, the benefit of economy that might get that we might get from this mechanism of opening government, and at the same time we can also protect the environment that everyone has been aware of, for example, that their crop are dying or something along those lines. Show that the benefit in opening government become bigger and their and harm being manifested even worse in opening opposition. I give opening government higher than opening opposition. That's the comparison in the opening team. Let's next comparing closing government to the another to these two benches of opening team. I'll be comparing first closing government and opening opposition. Why closing government goes higher than opening opposition? As actually comparison between CG and OG is a close call at the end of the day, but why does I ended up giving closing government higher than opening opposition? First of all, talking about the urgency, I think closing government managed to respond to opening opposition case about that it might be too late, because in the government week they say that it doesn't matter how good the economic impact that opening opposition can get when at the end of the day there is tsunami that exists because of the rising of sea level, for example. Every development that you get will die at the end of the day. It will be useless at the end of the day. But this tipping point, I see that okay, so it means that in the very good case that closing that opening opposition might can provide in this debate, it is still bad at the end of the day compared to, for example, the threat of the closing government might say that they also incorporate the benefit of opening opposition, talking that, for example, we can make a good resource, for example, by making it more eco-friendly, for example, and also people will accepting it more and solving the social crisis by making by solving the problem that exists, because we also incorporate, for example, people welfare by solving this environmental problem, for example. By saying these things, the urgency of opening opposition saying that it is bad, for example, mitigate it under closing government by saying that even in the good case in the opening opposition, it is still bad way, but there is still benefit in closing government. They're saying that it can also be, for example, give benefit in economic and also in the social crisis at the end of the day. And the second comparison, talking about the likelihood, I think I'm aware that there is a lack in likelihood as to how good the resource can be and how, for example, suddenly this eco-friendly thing, for example, can become a good resource or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, as long as it can show that at the end of the day, opposing opposition has never also explained their harm to the point, for example, how this kind of retaliation can really happen. For example, when this benefit also exists either way, why it is still bad. So I think it's a wash at the end of the day. So the biggest tipping point as to why I give closing government higher than opening opposition is in terms of how closing government engage to the very base case of opening opposition at the end of the day. That's why closing government goes higher than opening opposition. Third comparison then between closing government and opening government, which is the government of the house. Why the opening theme higher than the closing one? I think the idea of closing government saying that they want to protect the economy by using environmental preservation is derived from the idea of opening government as a whole. Because even in Prime Minister also stated that we can also incorporate this somehow, for example, even though there is some mechanization as a new contribution in closing government, for example, by how this campaign will exist, how will or something like that. I think there is so much delta that make closing government have a bigger contribution compared to opening government, because I see that the establishment of mechanism in opening government are also have been adequate actually to say that at the end of the day there will be a betterment in that manifestation will be good either way. But the second tipping point is about the response to the idea of opening opposition. I think there is a better response in opening government, especially when talking about the biggest one of the biggest concern also about in opening opposition, which is talking about that there will be a lack in funding in crisis, for example, because a bad control of money. I think opening government has stated that, oh, the government will not be that bad and will not be that stupid at the end of the day, because they also make an annual meeting to budget allocation. So there will be they can also, for example, make a good and rational allocation in budget. And also in Prime Minister also stated that even in the very worst case scenario, it is okay for us to take loan at the end of the day to solve this particular crisis when we need money or something like that. So mitigation that exists in opening government have been also sufficient that make the contribution in closing government is not that much compared to opening government at the end of the day. That's why closing government cannot go higher than opening government. Then we will next will be the comparison of closing opposition compared to another three benches where closing opposition got four. First of all, comparison between closing opposition and closing government. Why closing opposition cannot go higher than closing government? First, when at the end of the day, closing government stated that the status quo is not enough. That at the end of the day, even in the very best case scenario, when everything is good, when at the end of the day there's a disaster that happened, everything will be just vanished. And at the end of the day, CG also has enough time to say that status quo is not enough, because at the end of the day, even though after so much of a time, budget allocation for so long that exists in the status quo, there haven't been any much of changes that exist in our environmental preservation. That's why it is really needed at the end of the day. How does closing opposition come to this debate? They say that, oh, there is no budget allocation. That's it. And let's just allocate our money when the things become getting worse and it is something uncontrollable. Then let's do a more budget allocation that time. I think this is exactly the very concern of the government team, that it is will be too late when we allocate money when it's only getting even something uncontrollable, because when it's uncontrollable then everything is useless. And second of all, they never say why, even if there is some attempt that exists in the status quo, like CO say, why this okay. There's no any much explanation coming to this to respond to this closing government. And this is also one of the tipping point to compare closing opposition and opening government in this case. There is not much explanation as to why the status quo is enough when the government of the house has explained that status quo is not enough. That is why closing opposition cannot go higher than closing government. The second comparison of closing opposition is to compare closing opposition and opening opposition. Why the opening team is higher than the closing one? Again, it talks about how their idea derived from their opening team. Opening opposition has talked about why at the end of the day it will be bad because you make people die on the ground. I think it is also same with the case of CO when they say that people are being living in a misery because you prioritize something that is less important than people welfare, for example. The same, the output also the same, and the response towards the government are also somehow the same to the opening opposition. Opening opposition higher than closing one is because at the end of the day, the more nuance of response towards the argument of government side house. Opening opposition talks about people retaliate, for example, how, for example, they also talk about advancement will exist either way because because country want to compete with each other, so advancement will still exist or something like that. So there are more attempt to respond to the government side of the house compared to the closing opposition. So that's why opening opposition goes higher than closing one. Now, lastly, comparing closing opposition and opening government, why closing opposition still cannot go higher than opening government? Opening government has said the status quo budget allocation is not enough because the prime minister have explained that at the end of the day the budget is still there but the allocation is not good. That's why we still need to allocate more to make it more maximum, for example, to take the effect or something along those lines. There is no engagement why this is, for example, still bad at the end of the day because again the engagement in closing opposition, they say that okay, everything that you say is nonsense because you sacrifice people's life. I think this is really not engaging because opening government never say that they want to abandon people. Somehow in their mechanism they can also protect these vulnerable people still. Second comparison is about how, for example, how the argumentation again, like the typing point same with the closing government, which is about why it is bad, why it is okay for us to allocate something when it's become something harmful and uncontrollable, for example, why it is okay at the end of the day. I think it is somehow questionable that makes the argumentation and closing opposition become even shaky. But this comparison, I give opening government higher than closing opposition. And that is all the comparison to all of the four benches in this debate. Thank you so much for the fun round. If you guys have any question, I'm really open, and I prefer you to ask me right now for construct rather than asking in chat box, asking in my contact or WhatsApp or something. Yeah, silahkan. Is there any question? Personal feedback, yeah. Okay.
I have to go, by the way. Thank you so much for the debate and the OA. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We get the request of personal feedback from opening opposition and closing government. Ini closing government berarti cuma first-nya doang toh, and opening opposition for the second. Itu doang. Going once. Okay, OG both or just only Jeko? Oh, tapi OG tinggal sendiri ya, Vito udah keluar. Oke, berarti OG tinggal sendiri. Oke, semua aja. Ya. Nah, aku mulai dulu ya. Karena nggak ada question, jadi aku mungkin masuk ke ini aja. Apa sih yang bisa dimulai dari masing-masing tim dulu? Here's the thing. First of all, gini, I think opening government have a really good way to mitigate the argument of opening opposition and also closing opposition in this case. Karena kan concern dari opening opposition, ini case-nya nanti gabung ya, jadi maksudnya government is as a whole aja langsung. Jadi ini mungkin case yang bisa dibawa as government team, and this is the case that can be brought as opposition team, gitu dulu aja. Jadi potential cases and additional also, and how we can implement it as an additional in argumentation. Because tadi beberapa yang kalian bawa udah benar, dan yang mungkin bisa ditambahin itu cuma kayak contextualization-nya aja. Pertama, how your mechanism will be manifested. I think ini udah ada di kedua belah pihak, with, baik OG and also CG, how you will manifest your benefit. Tapi gini, itu masih bikin opening opposition kalian masih question. Gimana caranya kalau kalian masih sacrifice people? Ada attempt kalian bilang bahwa economic benefit. Tapi economic benefitnya gimana? Kan yang dibawa sama close opening government itu cuma bilang bahwa nanti kita bisa bikin orang-orang setidaknya cropnya jangan hancur dulu, ya toh? Jangan acting setidaknya nanti pertanian ini nggak hancur or something along those lines. Okay, that is good. Tapi coba kalian recognize that, for example, the mechanism will be, for example, can be used in two ways. Adaptive technology, like for example, vertical agriculture, pemecah ombak, wave turbine, basically using like sesuatu yang emang benar-benar terjadi gara-gara kesalahan lingkungan. Contoh seperti ini. Di Indonesia, karena ada the rising sea level, karena kenaikan level muka air laut, gelombangnya itu jadi makin tinggi. Karena arus gelombang itu makin tinggi, itu sebenarnya bisa something yang sangat beneficial untuk kita pakai sebagai pembangkit listrik tenaga gelombang. Oke, so wave turbine basically. Jadi kayak turbin pembangkit listrik yang memakai gelombang laut, for example. That is something, berarti kita utilize the rising of sea level, for example, untuk sesuatu yang beneficial untuk kita. Jadi adaptive technology, memakai sesuatu yang hancur misal di sisi kita untuk bisa for example jadi sesuatu yang advancement, atau misalkan solar panel for example. Karena sekarang kita mendapatkan misalkan radius cahaya matahari yang lebih banyak dibandingkan dulu misalkan, maka misalkan energi yang bisa dikumpulkan oleh panel surya makin tinggi. Artinya apa? Bahwa pada akhirnya kita bisa pakai itu untuk mengurangi ketergantungan kita pada penggunaan minyak misalkan, which not every country for example has the power to control the market value of minyak misalkan. Karena misalkan harga minyak itu dipengaruhi banget sama the United States misalkan, atau negara-negara di Semenanjung Arab. Artinya apa? Ketika misalkan krisis terjadi dan harga minyak naik, ya kita nggak bisa beli minyak, ya toh? Jadinya energi kita hancur either way sisi mereka. Karena kita misalkan nggak punya sesuatu untuk melindungi diri. That's why kita harus melindungi diri kita dengan membuat pembangkit listrik semacam ini sebagai preventive action. Kalau misalkan harga naik tinggi, setidaknya masyarakat punya alternatif pakai solar panel ataupun wave turbine yang udah kita bikin ini. Why it is important? Karena satu, negara kamu jadi independent, which is the biggest important things, because people will like this. Karena orang-orang suka ketika negaranya punya comparative benefit, sesuatu yang berbeda dari negara lain, which is like for example that is why you can also mitigate the argumentation of people retaliation, because people will not retaliate because they will love us instead because we make something that's really good, for example. Terus yang kedua, ketika mereka mau nanya misalkan pada akhirnya, oh dari mana duitnya kalau kita mau bikin research ketika resource kita nggak ada. Satu, ini worst case banget, karena nggak mungkin kita nggak punya resource sebenarnya. Kita punya resource sebenarnya. Itulah lihat kenapa seperti penelitian anak-anak di ITB misalkan, dan universitas top di Indonesia itu bagus banget. Masalahnya nggak banyak yang bisa diimplementasi karena kita nggak punya duit sebanyak itu. Atau pemerintah nggak pernah kasih alokasi yang banyak untuk penelitian mahasiswa misalkan. Karena semua dana penelitiannya harus didapatkan secara mandiri. Jadi budget alokasinya bisa dibikin agar orang-orang melakukan penelitian lebih banyak. Jadi resource kita bukannya nggak ada, tapi kita nggak pernah facilitate that resource. Itulah kenapa kita harus kasih duit yang banyak agar pada akhirnya di masa depan kita punya lebih banyak more diversified technology. Tapi kalaupun kurang, again baru masuk argumentasi bahwa kita bisa make cooperation with another country for example, karena kita mungkin sama-sama negara di Asia, jadi bisa kita kerjasama sama negara seperti Singapura negara maju, they have a lot of resource, dan we are on the same boat in the sense that for example we have the same problem at the end of the day. That's why kita bisa minta sama mereka, and there's for example an exchange of technology or something like that. Kita kasih bisa resource dan mereka kasih kita otak misalkan, atau human resource, kita kasih natural resource for example. Jadi ada kerjasama yang bisa terjadi di dalamnya to make this adaptive technology can really manifest. I mean, banyak juga jurnal-jurnal internasional yang udah ada, cuma tinggal implementasi aja. Artinya apa? Budget alokasi ini bukan berarti kayak semuanya harus tentang resource baru tinggal nunggu 50 tahun lagi baru ada hasil. No, ada penelitian yang udah ada ke pembuktiannya dan bisa benar-benar berhasil, yang tinggal kita butuhin cuman budget alokasi untuk pembuatan teknologinya aja. So it means we mitigate the argumentation of opening opposition saying that this might not succeed, because it will succeed because there have been some technology that is sufficient for us to make us more environmentally friendly in status quo. But second of all, it makes people love us because they like their country, for example, become more independent or something along those lines. Kayak gitu. Second things, preventive technology. Like ini yang aku bilang tadi, comparative advantage yang belum di research. Kenapa penting? Karena kayak gini, ini bisa engage ke misalkan di worst case gimana pada akhirnya kita butuh waktu bertahun-tahun untuk research. Ini bisa juga jadi engagement, ini jadi bisa extension dari CG ya, karena kan tadi CG derive banget. So, ini bisa jadi banyak hal yang bisa kamu kasih untuk mencegah argumentasi dari opening opposition. Yaitu tentang preventive technology, karena kan kalian mau bikin tadi ada CG that you want to be more back resource or something like that. How? Kayak gitu kan. Jadi itu dengan preventive technology. Oke, untuk 20 tahun ke depan, we do not have that much of advancement. Tapi dengan research yang kita lakukan simultaneously, dan bertahun-tahun, maka di masa depan akan ada misalkan comparative advantage atau teknologi yang beda banget yang cuma kita punya, yang orang lain nggak punya. Karena ini juga penting, karena Indonesia punya banyak comparative benefit. Satu, pembangkit listrik tenaga arus, karena kita itu banyak selat-selatnya gitu loh. Selat di antara pulau-pulau itu menyebabkan arus yang lebih tinggi. creating a situation where ada banyak banget tempat yang bisa dijadiin pembangkit listrik yang di luar dari penggunaan minyak, misalkan minyak bumi ataupun gas alam. Jadi lebih natural resource and more renewable and more sustainable also by the way. Kenapa ini penting? Satu, comparative benefit yang nggak punya dimiliki orang lain. At the very base case, ketika ini berhasil banget, misalkan 50 tahun lagi mungkin kita jadi eksportir energi listrik misalkan, kayak yang dilakuin Cina sekarang, which is also something that's really good. Jadi sesuatu yang benar-benar beda. Kenapa sesuatu yang benar-benar beda ini penting? Satu, biar kamu gak jadi boneka negara lain. Exactly, karena kalau kamu terus-terusan beli sama negara barat, itulah kenapa hal itu buruk. Karena kamu jadi jadi dikontrol, jadi bonekanya mereka. Karena misalkan kayak gini, harganya kan mahal toh. Exactly, karena mahal kamu harus bikin di negara kamu sendiri gak sih? Daripada kamu harus beli dari negara lain yang pasti mereka naikin harganya berkali-kali lipat. Jadi kayak gini. Pada akhirnya komparatifnya, ketika satu mereka bikin harga yang tinggi, ujung-ujungnya biar kamu bisa dapetin teknologi ini, kamu harus misalkan take an even bigger loan than that you might have to take right now. Mungkin kalau sekarang kamu cuma butuh waktu loannya itu 5 triliun, tapi di masa depan ketika harganya udah makin tinggi dan semua advancement-nya, jadi kamu harus beli hak kekayaan intelektualnya untuk bisa bikin teknologi ini di negara kamu, or something along this line di masa depan karena kamu gak punya teknologi baru. Jadi it's even worse, right? Karena itu pada akhirnya ini penting bahwa pada akhirnya comparative benefit it is really important for us, for example, to make a more control internationally, bargaining position or something along this line. That's why this is really important. Jadi misalkan seperti apa? Ada seperti roof garden aeroponics misalkan. Jadi bisa bercocok tanam tanpa harus ngerusak forest, misalkan yang kayak gitu. Which is yang something penting gak sih? Karena misalkan teknologi ini sebenarnya ada di negara barat, tapi nggak penting di negara mereka karena mereka lebih industrialized instead of more agriculture. Tapi negara kita kan sangat agriculture. Jadi teknologi adalah sesuatu yang sebenarnya jadi benar-benar kita butuhin. Itulah kenapa advancement di sini penting banget karena kita akhirnya punya sesuatu yang bisa kita kembangin sesuai dengan kondisi yang benar-benar ada di negara kita. Kayak gitu. Karena meskipun ada advancement di negara barat misalkan, it doesn't necessarily mean there is something that is helpful in our country anyway. Kayak gitu kan. Dan nunggu mereka bikin advancement yang relatable sama negara kita juga might take longer time. Mungkin ada yang relatable kayak mobil listrik misalkan. Tapi here's the thing. Kalau kita bisa bikin mobil listrik yang kita bikin dengan misalkan pembangkit listrik yang dibikin sama perusahaan nasional punya Indonesia, harganya lebih murah gak sih? That is why, exactly. That's why this is the most important thing. Daripada kamu impor dari luar negeri, satu, mahal, dan yang kedua karena ini mahal, orang-orang jadi ngerasa bahwa jadi eco-friendly itu gak mudah. Jadi ya udah deh kita tetap dipakai minyak aja bensinnya karena lebih murah. Ngerti kan? Karena mereka merasa bahwa harganya semahal itu. Exactly, kalau kita bisa bikin ini di negara kita, setidaknya spare partnya deh. Jadi kita nggak perlu import bener-bener gula dari negara lain. At least artinya apa? Biaya yang harus dikeluarkan untuk masyarakat untuk ngebeli this kind of technology, for example, is not that expensive, for example, at the end of the day. Exactly kayak yang dibilang Vito tadi. Alasan kenapa bahwa pada akhirnya harganya mahal, itu karena itu belum dibikin accessible ke semua orang. Exactly, kita butuh untuk ningkatin accessibility. Caranya agar ningkatin accessibility ya apa? Kita bikin lebih banyak pabrik di negara kita. Exactly, gara-gara itu kita butuh lebih banyak investasi. Tapi yang kedua, ini penting bahwa pada akhirnya kita bikin accessibility ini, kenapa pada akhirnya kita perlu untuk bisa bikin ini lebih murah, ya tadi untuk memecah misalkan pandangan masyarakat bahwa untuk menjadi environmentally friendly itu seberat itu. Itulah kenapa bahwa pada akhirnya satu, ini juga bisa mencegah argumentasi soal retaliation, because pada akhirnya masyarakat juga udah sadar ngelihat bahwa misalkan sekarang Semarang makin panas, Jakarta makin panas, Surabaya makin panas misalkan kayak gitu. Masyarakat nggak mungkin nggak sadar bahwa ini semua dampak dari misalkan semakin tingginya pemanasan global or something along these lines, right? So I think retaliation will not be that much, tapi ketika kita bisa kasih teknologi yang emang benar-benar bisa diakses masyarakat, berarti masyarakat nggak skeptis lagi dan mungkin lebih more willing example untuk memakai teknologi yang ramah lingkungan. That's why your argumentation is important. Kayak gitu. Jadi accessibility itu bisa kalian panjangin karena tadi di Vito itu cuma bilangin bahwa accessibility biar dicapai sama orang-orang miskin. Tapi di kalian, kalau di CJ mungkin bisa kembali, accessibility ini bakalan bisa membuka pandangan masyarakat bahwa pada akhirnya teknologi ramah lingkungan itu accessible. Jadi semakin banyak orang-orang yang percaya dengan hal itu, demand-nya makin tinggi. Kalau demand-nya makin tinggi, berarti lebih banyak investor yang datang ke Indonesia untuk ngejual barang-barang mereka yang ramah lingkungan. Dan semakin banyak orang-orang yang ngejual ramah lingkungan, kompetisinya makin naik. Jadi ketika ada kompetisi yang makin naik, gimana? Ya mereka berusaha untuk bikin harga murah, biar nanti produk mereka yang kejual. Dengan kayak gitu, berarti apa? Secara kolektif, maka akan ada misalkan produksi barang yang lebih murah yang hadir di Indonesia, misalkan seperti itu. That's why this is important. Jadi untuk bisa mencapai harga murah misalkan, ya kita butuh bikin dulu ada demand-nya. Tapi demand ini bisa cuma dicapai kalau masyarakat percaya dulu bahwa teknologi ini emang sebenarnya bisa dicapai itu dan dijangkau itu oleh masyarakat. Dan caranya untuk bisa dibikin dijangkau sama masyarakat apa? Ya dengan bikin pabriknya dibangun dulu sama Indonesia dan dibikin dulu harganya murah. Caranya kan bikin harga murah adalah pabriknya harus dekat dulu biar biaya distribusinya murah atau biar dapat subsidi dari pemerintah misalkan kayak gitu. Baru nanti mereka ada percaya bahwa oh ternyata nggak semahal itu ya. Kenapa ini penting? Ya ada step by step analysis toh. Kenapa pada akhirnya ini penting? Dan incorporating benefit di opposition jadinya lebih better nanti kalau kalian bisa extendnya sampai ke sana. Karena kan pada akhirnya kayak gitu. Kalian berarti engage ke very worst case scenario, yaitu bahwa pada akhirnya kenapa pada akhirnya di status quo orang-orang di negara berkembang tetap masih pengen pakai minyak. Di status quo kenapa orang-orang tetap skeptis orang-orang yang orang-orang pakai mobil listrik misalkan kayak gitu, karena ya pada akhirnya ya kayak gitu tadi mereka merasa itu tidak aksesibel sama sekali kayak gitu, apalagi gue masih miskin anjir kan itu mahal ya kalau mau beli yang ramah-ramah lingkungan kayak gitu Pak. Nah itu yang bisa kalian tambahin. Jadi kalau misalkan the biggest benefit yang ada di opening government itu cuma sampai untuk ngejelasin misalkan that there will be for example biar nggak terlambat aja di masa depan. Kalian mungkin akan bawa benefit yang lebih jelas dan lebih tangible, yaitu acceptance of people kayak gitu. Karena itu tadi belum banyak di-engage sama tim government, opening government especially. Dan itu yang bisa dibawa sama opening government juga untuk ngatakal this. Tadi fortunately argumentation of retaliation itu nggak sebanyak itu dijelasin sama opening opposition. Cuma bilang bahwa mereka bakalan benci karena mereka lebih peduli sama ekonomi mereka. Kayak gitu doang kan. Makanya engagement dari PM dan DPM tadi itu udah sufficient untuk nge-mitigate argumentasi dari kayak gitu. Nah, that's the very first thing. Kalau kita bicara soal case yang bisa dibawa untuk nge-mitigate opposition as a whole. Nah, terus yang kedua deh, barulah masuk ke argumentasi. Apa aja argumentasi yang bisa dibawa? Kita frame dulu dua hal. Satu, damage of environment menjadi faktor krisis sosioekonomik. Karena kayak gini. Ya, tadi sebenarnya udah dibawa sama both ya. OG sama CJ juga. Bahwa pada akhirnya ini juga tapi lebih kontekstual CJ deh. Bahwa pada akhirnya kalau misalkan environment-nya rusak, ya pada akhirnya masyarakat jadi makin chaos dong. Tapi jelasin, chaosnya kayak gimana? Misalkan kayak, karena pada akhirnya ada environmental crisis. Environmental crisis itu bukan juga cuman environmental crisis itu kan bikin adanya the shortage of land. Karena misalkan sekarang banjir terjadi di mana-mana, jadi orang-orang rebutan tanah yang bagus, yang tanah yang nggak dapat banjir, biar tanahnya bisa dijual dengan harga tinggi karena tanah yang kena banjir, harga tanah yang sering kena banjir kayak di Jakarta itu harga tanahnya cenderung turun. Artinya apa? Masyarakat lebih suka untuk melakukan kudeta sama saudara dan lain sebagainya. Apalagi ketika krisis terjadi, mereka sangat desperate of money, for example. Jadi konflik seperti ini will even worse in their side of the house. Kenapa kayak gini? Kenapa? Berarti harus environment yang terjadi. Karena kalau environmentnya bagus, gak ada banjir, berarti harga tanah misalkan sama or equal in every situation. Apa komparatifnya sama opening opposition side of the house, for example? Di sisi opposition side of the house, mereka bakalan tetap misalkan memberikan subsidi. Jadi subsidinya sama-sama ada untuk ekonomi, gitu. Tapi subsidi yang di opposition jadinya bentuknya apa? Orang-orang diizinin pakai minyak misalkan, ataupun misalkan memberikan harga murah untuk BBM misalkan. Jadinya semua mekanisme untuk welfare-nya terjadi, tapi SMK tetap menjadi faktor yang mendukung perusahaan lingkungan. Di sisi kalian, subsidi untuk ekonomi itu ada, tapi subsidinya mungkin untuk misalkan harga mobil listrik diturunin, biar orang-orang lebih beli mobil listrik, atau misalkan biaya untuk nge-charge mobil listrik itu diturunin, biar dikasih subsidi, daripada ngasih subsidi untuk mobil minyak misalkan. Jadinya subsidinya sama-sama ada toh, tapi bedanya adalah di tim closing government, mereka nggak akan contribute ataupun kasih benefit ke mereka yang merusak lingkungan ataupun teknologi yang merusak lingkungan. Itulah kenapa pada akhirnya better di sisi kami. Subsidi itu bersama-sama ada di dua sisi, tapi subsidi di sisi closing government will be better. Exactly, karena yang kamu bilang, satu, kamu menyelesaikan masalah socio-ekonomik, but at the same time preventing the environmental problem to get even worse, kayak gitu. Nah, baru deh dari situ kalian jadinya bisa nunjukin bahwa ada komparatif, that's why the government side has made better, for example kayak gitu. Tapi yang kedua, kamu jelasin gimana efisiensi budget yang di opposition side of the house will be even worse. Sebenarnya kayak gini, ini udah ada di government side of the house, tapi bisa dijelasin dulu aja. Karena kan argumentasi yang di opening government itu cuma bilang bahwa at the end of the day, when we are too late, it will be even worse. How worse it will be? Itu jelasin. Jadi, it will be even worse karena dua hal. Ini juga bisa dieksploit sama closing government. Karena pada sebenarnya di veto itu or PM, I don't know. It is lack of contextualization aja sebenarnya. Jadi kayak sebenarnya pada akhirnya gimana sih, separah apa sih kalau misalkan kita telat ngelakuin ini? Jelasin dulu bahwa pada akhirnya harganya akan semakin mahal di masa depan. Kenapa harganya makin mahal? Exactly kayak gini. Sebenarnya kenaikan suhu muka bumi cuma 0,5 derajat Celcius, cuma 0,5 doang. Itu bisa bikin misalkan ada perbedaan iklim yang sangat mencolok. Jadi, negara yang dulu yang sering datang hujan, mungkin akan mendapatkan curah hujan yang jauh lebih sedikit misalkan, dan daerah-daerah yang dulunya lebih banyak mendapatkan misalkan daerah bersalju misalkan, justru akan mendapatkan suhu yang lebih hangat misalkan dan lain sebagainya. Itulah kenapa bahwa perubahan ini somehow nggak bisa dirasain kayak ada perubahan yang tiba-tiba terjadi secara detrimental. Dan masyarakat ngerasa kayak semuanya oke-oke aja sampai masalah besarnya benar-benar terjadi. That's why this is really bad. Karena pada akhirnya budget allocation, kalau kamu baru nanti ngealokasiin budget exactly kayak ini nggak mitigate CO, ketika mereka bilang nanti budget alokasinya ketika nanti udah uncontrollable aja, exactly nanti di masa depan, that in the future kamu jadi makin kesusahan buat ngalokasiin dana karena APBN itu kan dananya udah diatur itu misalkan udah diatur sedari awal bla 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 bla, tapi bencana alam seperti heat wave misalkan atau seperti tanah longsor akibat deforestation or yang kayak tadi tsunami kecil or something along those lines lah, itu semua terjadi secara tiba-tiba. Sehingga ketika misalkan terjadi secara tiba-tiba, alokasi dananya bakalan blunder. Karena kamu misalkan udah bikin anggaran dana yang fix dari awal, tapi tiba-tiba harus diubah karena ada masalah yang se-urgent itu. That being said, budget efficiency will even worse, for example, under opposition side of the house. That's why pada akhirnya damage ini bakalan jadi tambah parah misalkan, karena ketika ada benar-benar terjadi masalah yang besar, tidak ada mitigasi yang besar. Compared to government side of the house, investasi juga berarti membuat lebih banyak hutan untuk mencegah itu, tapi yang kedua lebih banyak menyiapkan tabungan untuk pencegahan this kind of disaster. Karena kamu kan tujuan investasi itu gak cuma langsung ngebuat in research or building more eco-friendly factory campaign or something like that, tapi juga money reservation in term of danger happen because of this natural disaster yang exist karena misalkan environmental problem kayak gitu. Jadinya bahwa pada akhirnya it was better under the government side house kayak gitu jadinya. Itu untuk mitigate mereka. Somehow this explanation udah isi sebenarnya di kedua tim. What is lacking is the contextualization. That sebenarnya kalau ini bisa dikontekstualize, especially in CG, they can get higher than opening government kayak gitu. Okay, next. Talking then about why can we rely on another countries tadi? Oh, ini aku udah jawab ya. Tadi kenapa kita nggak bisa rely sama another countries? Karena international law nggak legally bounding. Artinya bahwa ketika tiba-tiba Arab tiba-tiba bawa mutus misalkan ngejual minyak gak mau ke Indonesia karena misalkan mereka butuh untuk diri mereka sendiri, ketika misalkan ada krisis yang terjadi, damn, kamu nggak punya alternatif. Kenapa ini penting? Ya karena bahkan negara Arab sendiri udah concede bahwa minyak mereka makin sedikit dan mungkin nggak bakalan beneficial lagi di masa depan, nggak akan dipakai lagi karena misalkan cadangan minyak udah makin menipis di seluruh dunia. That's why for example bahwa pada akhirnya mitigasi dari sekarang itu penting karena nggak mungkin kamu ngelakuin itu 20 tahun lagi ketika misalkan minyaknya udah benar-benar habis. Kamu mau dapatnya dari mana nanti sumber daya pembangkit listriknya? Mau bangunnya tiba-tiba langsung menghabisi doang kas negara selama 1 tahun itu cuma mau bikin solar panel misalkan, daripada dari kita yang udah kita cicil-cicil misalkan dari sekarang kayak gitu toh. Nah itu jadinya kalian nge-relating about budget efficiency with relying to another countries juga, jadinya two birds with one stone. Nah yang baru yang kedua tadi nggak bisa fit for all, jadi bahwa advancement di another country might be not related to another country karena kondisi geografisnya beda dan lain sebagainya. Itulah kayak misalkan ini beda case ya, tapi kenapa pada akhirnya kayak pabrik-pabrik atau mesin-mesin komputer Bitcoin, cryptocurrency dan lain sebagainya itu cuma bisa dilakukan oleh negara-negara barat yang mengalami musim dingin, yaitu karena mesin komputer itu sangat kompleks dan sangat banyak sehingga komputernya itu mudah sekali panas. dan butuh sangat banyak energi untuk bisa mendinginkan komputer tersebut sehingga benefitnya lebih tinggi untuk negara-negara barat yang punya energi yang lebih dingin. Itulah kenapa cryptocurrency more selective, for example, more beneficial for a northern world, for example, compared to people who live in the tropical country. Misalkan kayak gitu. Karena emang pada akhirnya setiap advancement itu disesuaikan sama kondisi negara mereka masing-masing toh. Itulah kenapa membuat advancement sendiri yang menyesuaikan dengan kondisi negara sendiri akan lebih on point misalkan. Dan mungkin aja misalkan pencarian inovasi yang emang sesuai sama negara kita jadi lebih cepat kalau kita udah budget alokasi untuk diri kita sendiri. Kayak gitu. Nah, terus yang ketiga, nge-shame diri sendiri. Ya, karena exactly kamu nge-rely too much for another country, for example. That's why it's really bad. Kayak gitu. Nah, udah kayak gitu aja. Untuk yang bisa dibawa sama tim government side of the house. Kayak gitu. Nah, untuk ngejelasin tentang how bad the status quo is, ya kasih contoh-contoh aja kayak Vanuatu yang mau tenggelam misalkan, Sierra Leone and the Congo for example, or for example kerusakan koral reef for example that killing the investment. Karena misalkan kamu bawa soal how the coral reef in Bunaken for example yang rusak karena misalkan sekarang pH air laut misalkan tidak lagi stabil dan tidak lagi hangat untuk misalkan pertumbuh kembang dan terumbu karang sehingga nggak cocok lagi jadi tempat pariwisata. Exactly, this is something that Indonesia government want to champion, for example, want to become one of ecotourism that is biggest in the world, for example. This is exactly why this is in line with national interest, bahwa national interest dari beberapa negara. Karena kan negara berkembang tuh mungkin nggak bisa menang berdasarkan apa? Berdasarkan teknologi. Tapi mereka pengen menang berdasarkan tourism. Kayak Bali, kayak Thailand, kayak Vietnam. Mereka itu sangat menggembor-gemborkan investment di bidang tourism. Exactly, this is something that, for example, benefiting us, especially this tourism. That's why this is the very national interest at the end of the day. Kayak gitu. Ya, sama sih. Link back-nya ujung-ujungnya tadi apa ya? Ini dibutuhkan untuk the benefit of the economy kayak gitu. Nah, untuk government team, OG and CG, is there any question?
For me, clear.
Okay. CG? Ya udah deh, Siji nggak respon. Gimana Siji?
Kak, itu mau nanya.
Ya.
Itu kalau itu gimana caranya membuat argumen tapi nggak terlalu fokus ke worst case scenario, karena pas CB tadi itu kayak apa ya, nggak kepikiran sama sekali itu yang argumen yang saya buat itu worst case scenario. Jadi gimana gitu membedakan worst case scenario dan yang mungkin yang paling mungkin terjadi scenario nya.
Aku rasa kita mulai dulu buat ngebaca motionnya dulu. Jadi my coach have ever say that untuk memulai case building, baca dulu motionnya satu-satu and typing down the key word of the debate. Jadinya kan kayak gini. This house would allocate significant amount of budget. Significant amount of budget bukan berarti semuanya dikorbanin. So just type it down. Okay, mungkin emang bakalan disacrifice to some point, but I don't think that it is all necessarily means that people will die, for example. Ya itu mungkin terjadi di very worst case, tapi kayak not so charitable aja, kayak gitu. Terus bukan ada juga even during economic and social crisis. The word even means that it is not the whole case. It is just like in a very extreme case, the argumentation will still run. Berarti argumentasinya nggak apa-apa untuk mulai dari argumentasi gede in term of economic and social crisis dulu. Jadi jelasin dulu kenapa ini bakalan buruk ketika social and economical crisis happen untuk kita caring to the certain things or something like that. Nah, itu dulu yang pertama. Baru nanti masuk ke alokasi yang kedua. Even if the status quo is good, why it is still bad? Ini juga baru masuk ke situ. Jadinya engage ke dua sisi. Jadinya kayak gini. Karena pada akhirnya ini bakalan, karena emang tipping point kemenangan kalian itu adalah Ini tipping point ketika economic and social crisis terjadi. Jadi konflik emang itu sebenarnya case terbesar kalian. But do not forget to engage to the very best case in your opponents juga, bahwa ketika mereka bilang bahwa ya kan social crisis itu terjadinya nggak selalu terjadi, jadi ya nggak penting banget dijelasin. Valid kalau mereka mau bilang kayak gitu. So engaging to these things, well, even in the very best case scenario itu juga harus masuk. Jadi karena gini, pikirin aja dulu kayak somehow kan gini, jangan terlalu berpikir bahwa suatu aktor itu sebodoh itu atau seirasional itu. Think in a moderate way, bahwa pada akhirnya mereka akan punya rationality. Itu adalah konsensus yang paling moderate di debate. Kecuali kamu bisa jelasin kenapa orang tersebut tidak akan irasional. Misalkan demotion ketika misalkan di korbannya most likely mengalami irrationality karena mereka berada dalam tekanan mental or something like that. Ada likelihood untuk ngejelasin kenapa aktor tersebut tidak rasional. Tapi ketika kita bicara di emosi ini, what is the likelihood of the government is not rational? I mean, in the very case of during of crisis, I think this is the very critical time where everyone in this country will be really serious and critical and also rational, right? Karena mereka pegang untuk ngeselesaiin masalah ini semuanya. Karena kalau negaranya hancur ya, misalkan para politikus ini misalkan nanti rekan-rekan pengusahanya mungkin jadi hancur ekonominya, nggak ada lagi yang nge-endorse partai mereka or something like that, for example. So in time of crisis, I think people will be really rational in that case. Jadi kayak gini, kesimpulannya adalah kalau kalian mau bawa argumentasi soal worst case scenario, at least jelasin kenapa yang worst case scenario ini yang paling penting atau yang paling likely terjadi. Jadi jelasin dulu misalkan kenapa di economical crisis or social crisis for example is something that is most likely to be happen. Tapi kalau kalian susah, ya I also consider susah banget untuk menjelaskan kayak economic crisis happen always. Tapi kami jelasin bahwa it always happen more often in the status quo. Kenapa it happen more often in the status quo? Karena ada fluktuatif ekonomi yang terus-terusan berubah. Kayak tiba-tiba aja ada orang yang jualan cryptocurrency yang bikin harga saham dari saham nyata, bukan saham digital, itu jadi turun. Yang naik itu justru saham digital misalkan. Artinya apa? Karena ada perubahan yang tiba-tiba di dunia ekonomi. Itulah kenapa pada akhirnya kita tidak tahu kapan social crisis ini akan dapat terjadi. Itulah kenapa ini more likely to be terjadi kalau kita bawa sosial keadaannya di status quo. Kayak bagaimana tiba-tiba ada perang aja di Rusia sekarang misalkan yang menyerang Ukraina, banyak sekali kekacauan di ekonomi, harga sumber daya naik misalkan, ada perang sumber daya antara US ataupun NATO misalkan untuk penjualan gas alam Rusia or something along those lines. Banyak harga-harga bahan makanan yang naik dan lain sebagainya. Inflasi benar-benar terjadi. Kalian jelasin bahwa di status quo sekarang ekonomi itu sangat sama sekali tidak bisa diprediksi. Apalagi untuk negara-negara yang masih berkembang, di negara-negara yang masih berkembang di mana konflik bisa terjadi kapan saja. GAM bisa aja tiba-tiba melakukan pemberontakan. Terorisme bisa tiba-tiba terjadi. Serangan ISIS, bom dan lain sebagainya bisa terjadi yang mampu bisa menurunkan harga saham di beberapa perusahaan kalau misalkan tiba-tiba ada pemboman di salah satu bank negara misalkan kayak BNI misalkan. Kalau terjadi pemboman di sana, biasanya harga sahamnya bakalan langsung turun. Atau kayak keadaan politikal sekarang yang kayak ketika Gibran terpilih jadi wakilnya Prabowo, harga saham dari anaknya itu si Kaisang naik, tapi justru anak saham dari pengusaha, I forgot the name, malah turun. Artinya apa? Keadaan ekonomi dan fluktuasinya sangat tidak bisa diprediksi di status quo. We do not know what may happen. That is why we have to be careful karena perubahan ekonomi akan makin rapid di masa depan. Exactly karena sekarang semua negara berlomba-lomba bikin advancement dan bikin teknologi dan pembaruan di bidang ekonomi kayak cryptocurrency, NFT yang bikin ekonomi makin gak stabil dan makin questioning misalkan. Itulah kenapa we have to be careful. Itu akan memperkuat argumentasi kalian ketika kalian bawa worst case tentang yang tadi ekonomi and social crisis. Karena tadi argumentasi kalian jadi terdengar sangat marginal, jadi cuma bawa worst case, padahal kalian bisa bawa itu sebagai sesuatu yang nggak worst case dengan bawa itu jadi sesuatu yang sangat relatable even di status quo. Itu cara pertama, jelasin likelihoodnya kenapa itu adalah sesuatu yang sangat mungkin terjadi. Tapi yang kedua, kamu jelasin kenapa ini yang paling penting. Jadi kayak gini, regardless itu sering atau jarang terjadi Dewan Juri, bahwa masalah sosial dan ekonomi krisis adalah sesuatu yang sangat penting agar jangan sampai terjadi. Karena kayak gini, kita nggak pernah tahu itu kapan terjadi. Kayak tiba-tiba aja ada masyarakat yang misalkan demo sampai bikin banyak bank yang akhirnya bangkrut ketika Orde Baru terjadi. Tiba-tiba toh. Kamu nggak pernah tahu hal itu kapan terjadi. Artinya apa? Yang dibutuhkan oleh pemerintah adalah reserve of money as much as possible in terms of crisis really happen. Tapi yang kedua, yang dibutuhkan adalah masyarakat agar punya safety net, agar ketika krisis terjadi, mereka setidaknya punya safety net, agar setidaknya bisa makan dulu. Karena mungkin pemerintah banyak hal yang bakalan harus diurusin ketika krisis terjadi. Dan ekonomi mungkin bukan sesuatu yang bakalan bisa ngebantu mereka karena bukan fiat di tim government untuk ngejelasin bahwa advancement ini akan terjadi, akan bisa baik dalam jangka waktu dekat. Mungkin buat waktu 30 sampai 50 tahun baru benefit di government dapat terjadi. Tapi dengan melihat bahwa status quo sekarang yang sangat rentan agar terjadinya krisis ekonomi, ataupun bahkan ketika krisis ekonomi bisa terjadi dan safety net-nya jadi nggak bakalan ada, itulah artinya apa? Di sistem government mereka nggak akan bisa untuk melindungi orang yang paling vulnerable. Siapa orang-orang yang paling vulnerable? Yaitu orang-orang yang underprivileged, yang di status quo nggak ada krisis aja, mereka udah miskin, ya toh? Dan mereka nggak bisa afford apa-apa yang ramah lingkungan. Sekarang, ketika misalkan semua budget alokasi dipaksakan untuk pembangunan ekonomi, pembangunan yang ramah lingkungan, ya orang miskin itu tetap miskin dan bisa afford hal tersebut anyway. Karena yang mereka butuhkan itu bukanlah misalkan teknologi yang ramah lingkungan, tapi misalkan beasiswa agar mereka bisa sampai sekolah ke tingkat universitas. Yang bahkan KIP kuliah sekarang aja gak cukup. Jelasin kenapa status quo gak cukup. Lihat budget alokasi di status quo aja nggak cukup untuk orang-orang misalkan dapat KIP kuliah atau alokasi dari KIP kuliah yang nggak semaksimal itu misalkan dan lain sebagainya. Tentu banyak sekali lapangan pekerjaan yang belum dibuka secara adil. Karena kayak gini, di tim government mereka akan melimitasi beberapa BUMN untuk mendapatkan subsidi yang misalkan tidak ramah lingkungan. Seperti PLN kan tidak ramah lingkungan, BUMN kan tidak seperti Pertamina kan tidak ramah lingkungan. Mungkin subsidi kepada hal itu bakalan dikurangi, ataupun misalkan produksi minyak kita bakal dikurangi karena kita pengen agar harga mobil listrik lebih banyak kejual. Artinya apa? Banyak mungkin tenaga kerja yang akhirnya di PHK misalkan karena kita produksi sesuatu yang pakai robot ataupun itu or something, you name it lah. Nah, artinya apa? Akan ada banyak sektor yang dikorbankan. Meskipun ada beberapa sektor yang baru dibuka, tapi masalahnya sektor yang baru dibuka itu nggak punya familiaritas sama masyarakat. Artinya yang bisa akses misalkan pabrik-pabrik mobil listrik ini ya sebenarnya orang-orang yang punya kemampuan di bidang teknologi dan something like that yang hanya bisa diakses oleh orang-orang privilege. Karena kalau kilang minyak itu kan bisa diakses sama orang-orang yang not too educated. Kenapa? Ya karena kan kerjanya mungkin cuma jadi pengawas kilang minyak misalkan, jadi pengeruk minyak dan lain sebagainya. Kayak gitu yang bisa diakses sama orang-orang yang underprivileged. Tapi teknologi ramah lingkungan biasanya adalah high teknologi yang nggak bisa diakses sama orang-orang dari kalangan bawah. Artinya apa? Jadi meskipun ada advancement yang bisa akses adalah orang-orang yang privilege anyway, jadi gap in economic will be even bigger at the end of the day. That is why in the very good case of the government side of the house, it is still bad. Karena kita nggak kata orang-orang yang paling miskin agar punya dulu the equal ground. Jadi yang kalian pengen kan tadi sama, equal ground. Jelasin kenapa equal ground itu penting. Karena ketika nanti implementasi dari sustainable energy ini dijalankan, equal ground ini penting agar orang-orang bisa competing dan akses sama fasilitas yang dibikin sama pemerintah gitu. Jadi kesimpulannya dua, jelasin dulu kenapa worst case kalian itu sangat relatable dan sangat mungkin terjadi. Dan yang kedua, meskipun itu sangat jarang terjadi, kenapa itu tetap penting banget? Karena itu kayak one hit everything die. Itu kayak katastrofik. Jadi benar-benar nggak boleh terjadi. Jadi ketika misalkan semuanya untuk lingkungan, terus kan kamu harus konsep bahwa dana untuk ekonomi dan subsidi BLT ketika COVID terjadi mungkin bakalan dikurangi. Atau krisis kayak kesehatan kayak gini sekarang, mungkin duit untuk beli vaksin bakalan dikurangi karena kita tetap harus budget alokasi untuk pembangunan pembangkit listrik tenaga terbarukan misalkan, yang akhirnya ketika hal ini terjadi udah nggak relatable, masyarakat makin marah, bahkan retaliasi ini makan jadi sesuatu yang buruk. Kenapa? Satu, masyarakat takut di status quo karena mereka melihat keadaan di sekarang itu nggak stabil. Jadi masyarakat itu takut banget. Exactly, karena mereka takut, mereka nggak mau mendengarkan hal tersebut meskipun itu aksesibel. Karena apa? Ketakutan mereka adalah melihat bahwa benefitnya baru kelihatan di jangka panjang, dan jangka panjang ini nggak kasih assurance ke masyarakat. Yang diinginkan masyarakat di status quo adalah assurance dulu dan assurance itu bakalan dapat diberikan ketika kita memberikan benefit jangka pendek yang simultan atau simultaneously or continuously or sustainable. Baru dia masuk argumentasi kamu soal sustainability tadi. Gitu. Gimana tadi? Terjawab nggak?
Ya, terjawab Kak.
Okay. Is there any question?
I think no.
Okay, nice. Opposition case. I think some of them udah aku jelasin tadi dan beberapanya juga udah dijelasin. Ini udah mau jam 11 ya. Udah deh, aku cepet-cepetin aja. Untuk opposition case, I think yang bisa dibawa sama yang tadi udah kalian bawa sih sebenarnya satu. Ini temporary karena setelah resolve gimana ya? Kalau 8 yang kita kan di sisi kalian recognize dulu. Di sisi kami bahwa pada akhirnya akan ada bantuan yang unconditional. Karena bahwa pada akhirnya kan negara barat itu pengen nih kelihatan baik banget. Jadi mereka bakalan kasih bantuan-bantuan kayak gitu biar mereka terkenal baik dan lain sebagainya. So I think exactly progresivitas itu ada dan jelasin kenapa progresivitas itu cukup. The progressivity in status quo exists good because there are more implementation about the status quo sebenarnya. Kelihatan kayak gimana? Kelihatan kayak G20 Summit itu juga bicara soal yang kemarin, bicara soal masalah lingkungan. Pertemuan KTT ASEAN itu juga bicara tentang masalah lingkungan. Apalagi pertemuan internasional di UN itu setiap tahun bahas soal itu dan semakin banyak pergerakan untuk hal tersebut sebenarnya basically. Jadi sebenarnya di status quo itu udah ada. Exactly. Kenapa nggak kerasa sekarang? Ya karena long term. Exactly. Karena long term makanya komitmennya itu udah ada, udah cukup. Tapi kalau mau ngerasain benefitnya emang harus long term. Makanya di status quo nggak cukup, nggak terlihat itu. Ini ngejawab argumentasi CG. Dan mereka questioning. Ya kalau emang udah ada betterment, kenapa di status quo belum ada? Ya emang karena masih butuh beberapa waktu lagi sampai bisa terjadi. Exactly karena satu tadi. Tidak semua negara berkembang punya dana untuk dialokasikan ke sana. Karena kalaupun ada dana untuk dialokasikan ke sana, ada yang lebih penting. Ada negara yang emang cuma punya minyak misalkan, kayak negara Kongo, mereka cuma punya minyak, gak ada yang lain. Gimana dong? Mereka mau sacrifice minyak tersebut dan bangun yang lebih eco-friendly misalkan. Gimana caranya? Gak bisa. Karena kalau mau bikin eco-friendly itu emang benar-benar harus mulai dari nol. Orang-orangnya harus disekolahin dulu ke luar negeri dan lain sebagainya. Emang butuh waktu. Jadi nggak cukup. Jadi ketika kita udah sacrifice minyak sambil nunggu orang-orang sekolah dan belajar, misalkan seperti negara-negara di Afrika, telat banget kayak gitu. Baru masuk ke benefit kamu bahwa ya udah kita tunggu aja dulu di status quo. Ada changes of technology. Kita jual minyak ke mereka ataupun yang kita punya sekarang nanti digantikan dengan teknologi dari mereka. Itu mungkin jadi mekanisme di negara-negara yang emang nggak bisa keluar dari tendensi untuk menggunakan minyak sebagai komoditas. Tapi yang bisa keluar dari minyak sebagai komoditas, maka itu tetap penting. Jadi ini kita ngejelasin di status quo. Jadi kayak nggak ada krisis sama sekali nih, nggak ada krisis sama sekali. Tapi mereka tetap negara berkembang dan starting point-nya masih setertinggal itu. Berarti kamu harus jelasin dulu. Setertinggal apa sih starting point-nya? Jangan jelasin cuman kayak human resource itu jelek dan sebagainya. Oke, kayak setertinggal apa? You have to explain that. Lihat kayak di negara-negara Kongo misalkan, mereka bahkan banyak sekali yang belum bisa bersaing. Bahkan kalau misalkan Olimpiade tingkat internasional, lihat deh, apakah ada banyak misalkan kontingen dari Afrika yang mendapatkan medali or something like that. Itu udah bisa jadi comparison sejauh apa sih sejauh apa sih advancement di bidang pendidikan mereka dan lain sebagainya, teknologi dan lain sebagainya. Banyak negara-negara yang misalkan masih sangat bergantung terhadap minyak misalkan sebagai satu-satunya komoditas karena negara mereka mungkin sangat korup misalkan, dan jadinya untuk advance ke sana pun mungkin nggak akan sesignifikan itu dampaknya anyway. Jadi daripada nunggu dampak jangka panjang yang nggak pasti dan pemerintahnya korup, mending jangka pendek aja. Yang penting ada assurance di jangka pendek kita tetap dapat makan. Ini penting karena kita bicara masyarakat yang paling vulnerable adalah masyarakat yang paling tidak dapat bertahan pada akhirnya. Regardless mau ada kehancuran lingkungan, itu tetap bakalan gak ada bedanya sama orang-orang yang vulnerable yang udah miskin dari awal karena mereka udah menderita dari awal since the very first time kayak gitu, since the get go they cannot survive kayak gitu. Jadi yang mereka inginkan adalah assurance di jangka pendek itu untuk nge-engage ke mereka, kayak gak penting sebagus apa yang mereka bawa, toh juga akan ada advancement di sisi kami, tapi yang paling penting adalah safety net untuk orang-orang yang vulnerable ini. Tapi yang kedua, kalau kalian mau bawa, bisa bawa soal argumentasi prinsipal. Argumentasi prinsipalnya apa? Apakah negara-negara di Asia dan Afrika ini yang menyebabkan kehancuran environment, makanya kita yang harus tanggung jawab sampai sedesperate ini kita. Enggak, ini bukan tanggung jawab kita. Ini kesalahan karena revolusi industri yang dilakukan oleh negara-negara barat. Semua inovasi. Lihat deh. Oke, kalau misalkan kita lihat jumlah emisi karbon di Cina dan India, which is negara Asia, itu lebih tinggi dibandingkan negara-negara kayak Jerman dan lain sebagainya. Itu karena emang penduduk mereka lebih banyak. Tapi kalau dihitung per kapita, artinya jumlah emisi karbon yang dihasilkan oleh masing-masing orang itu berkali-kali lipat lebih banyak emisi karbon individual ataupun per kapita yang dimiliki oleh negara-negara di Eropa sana. Which means bahwa yang menyebabkan kehancuran di negara kita is not us but them. Jadi yang melakukan, jadi kita nggak punya tanggung jawab moral untuk sebenarnya bertanggung jawab menyelesaikan masalah lingkungan ini because that is not our responsibility since the get-go. Kayak gitu. The biggest responsibility is upon them. Jadi kalau mereka menginginkan kita untuk melakukan perbaikan lingkungan, maka negara barat harus kasih kita misalkan bantuan yang unconditional, gratis. As apa? As affirmative action. Karena kita yang dikorbankan dan kita yang akhirnya harus bertanggung jawab. Artinya mekanisme di sisi jadi ini argumentasinya bukan prinsip, bukan praktikal, tapi prinsipal. As to why we do not oblige to do this. It is important karena kalau kita nggak ambil mekanisme yang diambil oleh government, berarti kita nunjukin bahwa kita adalah orang yang mau menerima ataupun menanggung semua tanggung jawab yang tidak kita kerjakan. Kayak gitu. Karena sebenarnya industri yang tidak ramah lingkungan ini disebabkan oleh misalkan banyak sekali hasil-hasil pabrik-pabrik dari hasil penjajahan orang-orang yang kolonial zaman dulu misalkan. Ataupun revolution industry again like that. Ini menjustifikasi argumentasi kamu yang bilang bahwa kita tunggu aja bantuan dan advancement dari negara barat. Karena satu, kita sebenarnya punya power buat nge-impose tanggung jawab ini ke mereka karena mereka emang punya kesalahan seperti itu. Pabrik-pabrik kayak lihat deh negara USA gembar-gembor tentang penggunaan mobil listrik dan lain sebagainya. Tapi mereka sebenarnya mereka menutup-nutupi bahwa banyak sekali kilang-kilang minyak di Afrika yang dimiliki oleh perusahaan-perusahaan Amerika Serikat. They are shameless, basically. That's why kita harus impose burden itu ke mereka. Makanya di sisi kita tidak punya tanggung jawab untuk melindungi lingkungan. Meskipun itu penting, tapi itu tetap burden dari mereka. Yang perlu kita lakukan sekarang adalah kita tetap bantu, tapi sesuai dengan porsi yang sudah kita lakukan, misalkan sambil nge-impose burden ke mereka, misalkan, but at the same time protecting our very people. Karena ketika kita pakai mekanisme di government untuk bisa dapetin benefit ekonomi yang mereka glorifikasi, takes time. Berarti masyarakat kita masih harus suffer dulu 30 tahun ke depan. Is it good or is it justified for our people to suffer even more because of these shameless people of Western yang melakukan kejahatan ini? That's why it is principally bad. Jadi ini argumentasinya principle basically. Jadi no much of practicality. But I think kalau kamu bawa ini, mungkin kamu bakalan bisa bawa engagement yang bisa nge-mitigate semua practicality. Jadi exactly regardless of practicality yang dibawa sama government itu nggak penting karena secara prinsipal itu bukan tanggung jawab kalian, dan secara prinsipal tanggung jawab kamu adalah melindungi orang-orang kamu dan mencegah mereka dari misery yang lebih banyak. Kayak gitu. Itu sih yang mungkin bisa aku tambahin di government side of the house. Oke, apakah ada pertanyaan? Oh, tinggal kita berempat ternyata di sini. So, Oke, alright, clear ya.
I think it's clear.
Nah, oke, cool. Nah, yaudah, kalau gitu, I think that's all. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. If there's no any question, aku izin buat out dari Zoom-nya ya. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh iya, kalian punya grup gak?
Punya NDS.
Aku minta tolong, to ask for ini, kasih aku feedback dong untuk oral education dan juga construct. Tapi specifically di feedback sih, apa mungkin yang aku bisa tingkatin. Itu aja.
Okay, I will tell them.
Ya, makasih banyak ya. Aku izin out. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Kak. Aku izin out. Guys, thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.